Ladies and gentlemen, we all have our favorite maps. You know those maps that when we see that we have a match on them, we go, yes! For me, that's this map. Coldfire it's called. It's made by the one and only Voice of Akasha, and it is a 2-base high funds map. Those are very rare. But you know what this map also has? 1, 2, 3, 4 harbors. I'm telling you guys, on this map, battleships are highly effective, and for that reason, whenever I see that I have a cold fire game, I always pick Drake if I am able to. Yes, he was recently nerfed pretty hard. He was changed back to his cartridge self, which does suck a little bit. He used to have 25% defense and 20% worse aircraft. They slapped him with that cartridge accuracy. Now he only has the 10% defense and the minus 30% firepower on air units, which certainly makes Drake feel a lot less impressive. But on Coldfire, ladies and gentlemen, he is still a very viable CO, especially in a live format where your opponent doesn't have a ton of time to think things through. Of course, my opponent today picked Funbolt. Funbolt in Live League, man. I am of the opinion that if they just banned him from Live League, then Live League would be more fun, because I really do think Funbolt is the best live pick in almost every situation where you can get him, because he is the CO that by far requires the least amount of thought. You may think, okay, well, the Ex Machina is harder to aim in Live League, but not really. I mean, you can still bust out the move planner. It's actually your opponent that has to spend more time in move planner moving around the Ex Machina, so I actually think Funbolt is even stronger in Live than he is in Standard and Fog, so... Well, one day, maybe they will ban him. That will certainly be great for Live League. I might actually be able to win some games in Tier 1 SNL again if that happens, but this is the opponent we're up against. That it is a tough opponent to be up against this Drake, because, of course, if it ever devolves into an air battle, it's going to be incredibly rough, right? And as Drake in high funds, you will actually be forced to build some air units every now and then. Minus 30% firepower into plus 10% defense is not fun. I'm telling you that, guys. It is not fun at all. But there are some things you can do as Drake on this map, and I'm going to show you one little trick that I like to do, which always catches my opponent off guard, especially in live matches. And we are playing a live match right now. My opponent is NC Ghosts. I'm going to say she, because I have no idea. Like, it's a pink profile, and she calls herself the B word, so I'm maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to say her. So, NC Ghosts, pretty strong player, 1100 MMR. You can see on the Live League, she is almost 1000 MMR, so strong opponent. I knew that when I queued into this match. I was like, yeah, this is not going to be super easy. And I'm also up against Funbolt, so I really have to play well here. But I have a couple of tricks up my sleeve as Drake in this particular map that I want to show you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. So my opponent playing as Funbolt in the black trunks over on the right side. Me playing as Drake in the green trunks over on the left-hand side right here, starting things off pretty casually with just some infantry moving out, nothing too fancy here. But I will show you a clever little thing you can do in high funds if your opponent tries to bully you with tanks, as my opponent just did right here. 2 Funbolt tanks. Now, that's kind of hard to go up against in most situations, but in high funds you have this nice little opener that you can't really do in Standard, but you can do it in high funds. Boom, just build a medium tank. You have the economy for it. You can build it on day 3. It doesn't matter if you're up against Funbolt. Funbolt's tanks cannot fight against your medium tank. Now, of course, the medium tank can only be in one place at once, but it is still a very nice opener against a aggressive Funbolt who tries to bully you with tanks. So here I go for the harbor. You want to get the harbors early as Drake. You want to get these 2 harbors as quickly as you can secure them. I've seen some people open APC just to get this harbor right here. Because as the Funbolt player, you want to deny this harbor from Drake at all costs. So because I built the medium tank, I can't really afford anything else. And you can see my opponent go straight into the harbor deny here. She knows that my plan is to get a battleship out here immediately, and if I get a battleship right here, and if I lock my opponent's harbor, she's screwed, right? Like, she can't do anything. And the battleship is 1 turn away from locking down that harbor. And what's so devastating about that is that you see these airports right here? They are dependent on getting a black boat. You can build a T-copter and you can move all the way over here, but it takes forever. So what you want to do is you want to capture this harbor right here, build a black boat, get the airport, and now you got 2 airports. So if I lock down that harbor successfully a battleship, that's never going to happen. That's a property that is going to be denied all game. So my opponent is actually sacking a tank to deny this harbor right here, which I actually think is the right move. And my opponent was very aggressive. She's a very aggressive player. So, and actually base skipping to get a Neo tank out. And this is smart. I mean, that's a good counter to a medium tank. Of course, I have 25k, so I can just build a Neo tank of my own. And I'm also going for these central properties, which are very important to get. And I happily take up the offered tank, as you can see right here. Von Bolt's defenses don't really matter here. And I build a tank of, or a Neo tank of my own. The capture game continues. Tank goes after my harbor here, but I've already captured it, so it's not really a big deal. And the Neo tank rolls out. Artillery. Artillery on this map, they can sometimes be viable, but they tend to get zoned up by battleships in my experience. So I'm not super fond of building artillery on cold fire. The map is a little too open. Like, you might be able to do something with them up here maybe, or like on the sides, but in the center I find that they get mowed down very easily in high funds. So, but here I employ my little trick. I build my little black boat right here. Now, you may look at this black boat and obviously what you're thinking is, well, he's going to go for the airport, right? I mean, sure, I'm Drake, but an airport never hurts. So you look at this black boat and you're like, oh, I want to deny this black boat from going here. But that is a bit of a, how do we put it? A little bit of a subterfuge. Let me know if you see the play that I'm about to do with this black boat. So I roll out with the Neo tank. I have both a Neo and a medium tank here, so this Neo tank is not going to be... Even if it like strikes my Neo first, it's going to lose due to this medium tank being here. Even if he strikes the medium tank, I'm still going to get to strike back. So this engagement, I will win. So my opponent continues her insanely aggressive play. She really doesn't want to let me get this harbor, and that's understandable because, again, you don't want Drake battleships in the spawn. And here she does something I think a little bit questionable, like, goes for my Neo tank right here. Like, I get it, you're von Bolt, but you're still on a road. Like, if this was like a forest, I think it'd be a lot better. But, you can still see how insanely von Bolt is, even when taking unoptimal engagements, but it's like, I think this one may have been a little bit reckless personally. But you can see she's super aggressive, like, this is not a player who sits idly by. It feels like I'm playing Poland a little bit, but there you go. Yeah, that's my little trick that I employ as Drake. I was actually very happy when I saw a Neo tank come out here, because I expected her to build a battleship. If she built a battleship here, I'd actually kind of be in trouble, because this battleship could have moved in, zoned out my harbor, zoned out the Neo tank and the medium tank, and I still don't have my harbor. But my opponent went for the Neo tank instead, which allows me to do this clever little trick. Now, this trick worked a hell of a lot better back when Drake had 25% day-to-day defense on his black boat, because that is like a 55% defense black boat. That takes a while for an artillery to kill. Even with the 10% defense, though, it's still a pretty tough black boat, as you'll see. But basically what I've done now is I have completely denied any battleship coming out of this harbor for at least the next like 4 or 5 turns. Artillery can wear it down in time, bombers can also get rid of it. But this is what I was talking about. This is why I always pick Drake, because I love battleship play, and with the black boat, you trick your opponent into thinking you're going here, but actually, you're going here and you're denying their harbor. And that's very crucial. So I was very happy to see the Neo tank. My opponent could have shut this down super hard. And as you can see right here, von Bolt is still pretty disgusting. Still doesn't kill the Neo. I was tempted to try and kill the Neo, but I decided I wanted to go for the infantry instead. And I'm still going to try and get that harbor. And I build another Neo tank. So I'm in a pretty good spot in the middle right now, because I think my opponent was way too reckless there. But there comes the battleship, ladies and gentlemen. And this battleship is going to be a big nuisance. A very, very big nuisance. And again, using the 1 HP Neo tank very cleverly to deny this harbor. Again, my opponent wanted to deny this harbor whatever the cost, and that is the correct play, I think. And I'm not ready to build a battleship just yet, so I just want to make sure that NC Ghost doesn't put her tank on top of this harbor. But I actually build a Drake bomber. I felt like I really didn't have much of a choice. Bomber is the only thing that can really damage the battleship. So, like, the calcs are not going to be pretty here. Like, if the battleship's on a harbor, I hardly deal damage. But if it's out in the ocean, it's still 5 HP worth of damage. So, like, yeah, minus 30% firepower sucks. It really does, especially when you don't have comm towers. But you can see here, like, it's like the bomber can still threaten the battleship, if only a little bit. So I felt justified building the bomber here. I feel like it's better. Like, sometimes I know it sucks to build a unit that is so weak, but sometimes the bomber is still so important you have to get it. And I also build a artillery right here. I figured maybe I can, like, try and scare the battleship away a little bit. The combination of artillery bomber can sometimes be nice because you're forcing basically the battleship to either choose between firing on the on the artillery or moving back. Either way, it's going to be good for you. But yeah, the battleship comes in right here, and this is... Battleships on this map are just so terrifying, man. They shut down the entire process, and here the battleship is also threatening my black boat. But I believe if we actually take a look at the calcs here, you can see it doesn't one-shot the black boat. And even the artillery is not doing a hell of a lot of damage here. So my opponent is also building a fighter to counteract the bomber. And boom, the medium tank goes down. And I knew that my opponent would probably do something of the sort. But as you can see, I have my Typhoon ready very soon. So day 9 rolls in, ladies and gentlemen. And here, I decide to get a little bit feisty. I pop my Typhoon. This is high funds. You always get your Typhoon if you want to. Like, if it's close, if it's like more than 75% ready, at any turn you can always like take engagements and pop your high Typhoon. That's why I really like Drake and high funds. And man, I mean, it is strong, right? It is a strong ass power. And the bomber is already in range of the battleship. I think that maybe my opponent... yeah, this is why the bomber is very good, because like there's no safe place. Like, you could have put the battleship here, but the moment you move it in here, it's going to be in range of the bomber on day 2. And of course, I have to be a little bit cautious here, because Ex Machina threatens me very quickly now. And I built 2 anti-air because I'm expecting my opponent to get this airport soon, so I might as well get some anti-air out. They're still great for wall breaking von Bolt's infantry, and I want to make sure I catch this fighter. And as you can see, that's exactly what my opponent is doing. She's going for the airports. I figured, why not get the anti-air out early, right? And yeah, I'm taking a little bit of damage here. I did do some calcs to see if she would get her Ex Machina this turn, and I was fairly confident she could not. Like, at the end of the day, you gotta remember that you get 50% power charge on your turn when you kill units. So it's hard to get those, like, last 15k charges von Bolt, so... I was fairly confident I would not have to deal with Ex Machina this turn. And I was right. And that's great, because that means that I can start charging up during the next Ex Machina. But this turn I do have to be careful, because Ex Machina is coming in, and it's going to be nasty. So, I do get a nice shot on the bomber, which is very nice to see. And I decide to get very feisty here. Very aggressive. And I put a lot of my units up in her face, because if Ex Machina strikes, it will actually... there's a new update with von Bolt. Ex Machina actually targets his own troops now. But this also gives von Bolt a lot more control over where the Ex Machina lands, because Ex Machina will take his own troops into account when it gets popped now. So it kind of works like it does on the cartridge. So, but this means that if you really want to, like, be up in von Bolt's face, he's going to be a lot less likely to pop Ex Machina. He wants to pull his forces back before he pops it. So that's why I'm getting so aggressive on this turn. So, I don't want to bring up the move planner because it risks spoiling the match sometimes. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Ex Machina... I think it's going to land here, actually. You know what? Let me pause briefly and actually see if I can show this. Okay. So, turns out the Ex Machina actually would strike the bomber. I thought maybe it would strike the battleship, but it will actually hit the bomber. But it's not actually that bad, because this bomber is dead anyway, because of the fighter. So this is actually pretty good. I mean, it'll strike a damaged Neo tank and not this one. So I thought maybe it would hit here, but it's actually going to hit here. But This is still not a great Ex Machina at all. This is a pretty bad Ex Machina. It kills an already dead unit. Now, of course, if we remove the bomber, it will strike down here. And this is like, it's a pretty bad Ex Machina, but it's not super bad. Like, it'll deny the comm tower. But the battleship will get healed up, and the anti-air isn't really needed this turn, so it's still an okay. It's still a pretty good bait, I'd say. But you'll see, ladies and gentlemen. I think, if I remember correctly, I don't think my opponent pops Ex Machina this turn. So I'm super happy with losing that bomber. It already dealt damage to the battleship, and it also gave me a crap ton of power charge. So as far as I'm concerned, this bomber has really earned itself in. It damaged the battleship. It forced the fighter, which what does this fighter really do against me now? Like, it doesn't threaten any air units. It's a useless unit. It can be used to block. So, and I will get the fighter. So this bomber, as far as I'm concerned, earned itself in like twice over. So I'm super happy with it. Like, definitely worth it to build a Drake Bomber in this situation, I think. And look at that. My black boat is still denying this harbor. No battleships can come out of this port. And my opponent won't even pop her Ex Machina this turn because it's just not valuable enough. But it can sometimes be very annoying when fumble players sit on the Ex Machina, I will admit. Like, it can be really annoying. Now, I didn't need to attack the fighter, personally, because it doesn't threaten anything, but it's still power charge, and, like, it's not like my opponent gets anything out of it anyway, so I might as well damage it. And now, my battleship is online, ladies and gentlemen. Well, what do you think I'm gonna do this turn? If you were to hazard a guess, if you look at my income, yes! Carrier, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely a good buy on this map. Completely shuts down the center. And sure, Ex Machina will probably hit it, but that's a good thing, because it's 30k, right? So it's a very nice target to bait Ex Machina with. Just make sure he doesn't hit the battleship and the carrier both. And actually pull my anti-air back, because I don't want the Ex Machina to hit the anti-air, because I want to kill the battlecopter. But I'm pretty sure the Ex Machina will actually hit the carrier now. So very annoying for Fumble to deal with. Actually, no, I think Ex Machina is going to hit right here. But that's okay. Mine's going to hit at some point. So there we go. It does hit. I could have soaked that better, honestly. That was a little more than it needed to, I think. Definitely a little more than it needed to. So that was a pretty scary Ex Machina. But look at that, ladies and gentlemen. 10% defense coming in clutch. If it wasn't for Drake's 10 defense, this Balak boat would be dead. So even a 10% defense modifier can play a big difference. And you can bet my opponent would have loved to build a battleship here this turn. Battleship right here this turn would have been amazing. It would have locked down the battleship, threatened the artillery, locked down this entire section right here. So this black boat absolutely being a champ right now. It is denying so much. And look at me, ladies and gentlemen. I almost have my Typhoon active again. And he moved his fighter into range of my carrier. I think this was this was a mistake. She said oops, I think, in DM. So it's like, oops. So that was just like a misplay. But it happens, right? But what did I tell you guys about High Funds and Drake? You can always get that Typhoon if you want to. Wait, am I getting it? Actually, I don't think I'm getting it. Oops. Well, that made me look like an idiot. I think I'm going to get it next turn. I thought I got it this turn, but I guess not. So here comes the bomber. Actually, forgoing the battleship, but of course the battleship is covered by the carrier, so but this dances into the dead zone, and the tank actually denies the anti-airs. That's actually pretty well played. And there you go. Finally the battleship comes out. I think she's been waiting to do that all match. But just as it comes out, ladies and gentlemen, you know what also comes out? It's a Typhoon! Oh, Typhoon and High Funds is such a thing of beauty, man. So nice. And you can see that now, my momentum is starting to build right now. I have a lot of units in the center. My carrier is getting insane value right here. Shot down a battlecopter, shot down a fighter, threatening the bomber. And I build another battleship in the center. Sure, this battleship is a little annoying, but nothing I can handle, I think. And fuel is also starting to become a concern at some point. Kind of annoying. She always... I really want to take this property away from her, because I am one property below. or below her. And also keep in mind that on in live league games, you have a 30-day time limit, so capture battles actually do ensue at some point. But my battleship goes down, it's a little bit sad. But my carrier will be able to kill the bomber, which is about to run out of fuel very soon. But like, this carrier has already earned itself in. It's been a very valuable carrier right here. And now I move my artillery in range of the battleship, so I'm kind of forcing the battleship to choose between shooting or moving away. And now I'm actually threatening the harbor. And you can see that the fact that I have most of my units in the center is really starting to benefit me here. Because I have such control in the center, and every turn I can bring a new artillery in to threaten this battleship. And you can, like, artillery are a hell of a lot cheaper than battleships, so I think my opponent is starting to get a little desperate right here. Nice little repair on the black boat, but I don't think anything's gonna really stop my momentum at this point. Fighter comes out. I even built a fighter of my own. Drake fighter, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you have to, you have to, right? They can still counter bombers. And here, I see a little bit of an opener to take out the artillery. I do a little bit of a joint cap, build a battleship to threaten this battleship. And now I have several units threatening this battleship, and my opponent resigns on my turn, ladies and gentlemen. Fun match! Really fun match. I'm telling you guys, Drake is the pick on Coldfire. Even in his nerfed form, he's still absolutely the most viable CO, I think. And it's so much fun to have a map where battleships are actually good. Every time I see a match on Coldfire, I cheer. I love this map so much. Haven't had a boring matchup on it yet. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Have a lovely Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow in the stream. Take care. Ba, 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 ba.